Now have a quorum, so I will call this meeting of the House Health and Human Services Committee to order. Thank you very much to all the committee members that quickly came over here so we can finish up and get you on the road to the Governor's Mansion if you're going. First of all, we will ask Representative Dempsey. She has House Bill 511. You have a substitute. It is LC 335144S. LC 335144S. Representative Dempsey.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chairman and members of the committee. I bring this to you today to begin a 75-person pilot program for bariatric surgery benefits under the State Health Benefit Plan. Recently, for I think about 3 years, it was included in the plan, and because of the costs through the appropriations process, it was removed from the plan. And there has been an outcry to try to return it. So in order to do that, we would like to come up with some very tight guidelines to run a pilot program and to be able to come back with statistics that prove the exact facts on those who are particularly in need of these procedures. This is a critical health benefit. It was eliminated, as I said, during fiscal year 2013. And there's wide acceptance and support for bariatric surgery to be used as a treatment option for obesity. 48 Medicaid programs and 43 state health plans provide the benefit. Unfortunately, we rank in the top 20 in obesity statistics, and this is causing a growth in expenses and lives that are lost as well. Research shows that costs of bariatric procedures are offset by cost savings that accrue 3 months, as fast as 3 months after the surgery. The bill is pretty straightforward in what it produces, pretty tight limits. I think you have several pieces of information there in front of you too that are statistics. I know everybody's tired and ready to get out of here today and move on, but I would just ask that you take a look at it quickly and see. I'd direct you on the bill. I think first of all, let's start on about line 24, which does do some specific explanation. Participation in the state employees health benefit wellness plan for at least 12 months. These are the qualifiers for it. Completion of a health risk assessment, a body mass index greater than 40 or greater than 35 with one or more comorbidities. The consent to provide personal medical information. They must be a non-tobacco user and no other primary group health coverage or primary coverage with Medicare. They've been covered under the state health employees plan for 2 years prior to the pilot program and express an intent to continue for 2 years. Now I understand that's tricky. You can't tie someone down to that, but that would be an intent that they do plan to do that, because the biggest I think information that we are trying to get is what happens after the surgery. So there's no doubt that there are certain people that will qualify for the surgery, but we want to make sure to follow the statistics for our particular group of those who qualify and see exactly what we are saving, what the cost savings is afterwards, what the health savings are, what the reduction in prescription medications and other expenses that come from the comorbidities with this. At this point, I'd like to stop and see if there are any questions.
Thank you, Representative Dempsey. First of all, let me just make it clear, my husband does not do bariatric surgery. Just make sure, in case anybody was questioning that. I had a question. Wasn't there, and didn't the House and Senate find this important enough last year that they included something like $175 million for coverage or something? Am I wrong about that?
We did try, but at the end of the day, it came out of the appropriations process. It's just, we're trying to come up with some great statistics to prove the need.
Okay. Representative Kidd.
One, you don't qualify, do you?
No. But if I did, let me tell you what, I'd want it, because it is life-changing. The effects are huge. And it's not just about how you look, but it's that true health. It's, hypertension, diabetes, joint disease later.
I agree that the state of Georgia is one of the highest ranking states in obesity. But two quick questions, if I may. That you said there was a hue and cry of people who wanted this since the state took it out. Do we know how many people used it before the state took it out?
There are statistics. There's a group that is still being followed of about approximately 2,400 people. I could be a little off in that number, that are still employees and did have the surgery, I believe. Is that correct? There's still a group that's being followed, but they are not being followed with all of the information that we would actually like to pull out from the time.
Could they, further question, Madam Chair? Could they not be included in the newer questions or newer things you want to follow?
Well, they will still be followed, and we are, after we do this, we're going to take up a resolution that was introduced today that would follow those to continue, but to get the information from that. So this would allow for 75 more.
Last question.
Over 2 years.
On line 48 through 51 on page 2.
Right.
Do we want to, I assume you do, you put it in here, list just those three things, or are there other things that might be needed to be added, or so we could say such as this, but not limited to just those three? Or
I think
technology changes every day?
These are the three specific that are available today as my information.
Thank you.
Okay. Representative Jones.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to thank you for this piece of legislation, and when it came up last year before the committee, I did mention that I had the procedure in 2004, which was a great procedure for me. It helps with existing problems or medical conditions that you may have, and I appreciated going back after the surgery, the follow-up that they have. So I think this is a great bill, and I do support it.
Thank you
Jones,
so much.
did you do it on the state health benefit plan?
No, at Lockheed Martin Company.
Thank you. Representative Hawkins.
Representative Hawkins, 27th District. Representative Dempsey, is it true that since this is a study or pilot study, this will preclude you from a special advisory commission on mandated health insurance benefits as called for in Senate Bill 17?
It is. It's not a mandate at this point, as I understand it. Is that correct? Right.
Right.
All right. Representative Henson.
Thank you for doing this. At one time, I remember we covered this under state health.
did.
When did we stop covering it?
I believe it began with the 2013 budget. Is that right? It ended in 2011. I'm sorry. So,
We know how many had been done before that?
well, there are approximately 2,400 that are still employees and still being followed.
Great.
So,
Thank you, because I remember whoever had been the commissioner at the time working with them, and
right.
let's
And
cover it.
I have worked closely with Commissioner Cook on this as well. You know, the reason we cannot offer it across the board right now is because the dollars are not there to do it. But we would like to prove statistically if we are saving money through doing the procedures, if that is actually, which statistics bear that out, but we want to do it from a very targeted group of Georgians.
Well, I'm very supportive of your legislation, so thank you. Even though you certainly don't need this
You
bill.
never know. You never know.
Thank you. That's all the questions from the committee. We got somebody else. Oh, who? Oh, is he here? Representative Hatchett?
I'd like to make a motion.
Okay, I'll do that at the appropriate time. Just let me ask, is there anybody in the audience that wants to speak to the bill? No.
Cooper, from the Georgia Society of American College of Surgeons and the Georgia chapter of the American Society of Metabolic and Bariatric Surgeons. We would just say that we appreciate Representative Dempsey for bringing this forward again, and we fully support this bill and ask for favorable consideration.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, that's all the questions. You're on, Representative Hatchett.
I'd like to move that we pass substitute to House Bill 511.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second to the passage of House Bill, the substitute to House Bill 511, that was LC 335144S. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. Everyone in favor of the passage say aye. Anyone opposed, no. The ayes have it. Representative Dempsey, you have a resolution, and it is printed in small print, and it is LC 335140. Everybody can find it, LC 335140.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. I thank you for allowing us to go ahead and move on this at this time very quickly as well. This is another way to look at this should something happen to not allow us to have the pilot study. This would take those that subgroup that I've talked about that have already had the surgery, that are existing state health benefit recipients, but it would tighten up the information that we are trying to find. The department is collecting some of that data now, but this would be a way to get more data and to make sure that we are, as once again, trying to prove the benefits of these surgical procedures. If you'll look, starting toward the end of the bill about line 35, that begins to explain the added material that we really want to include in it. Much more specific, the claims data to include all coding for the provider, the date of the surgery, the type of procedure, open or laparoscopic, the actual cost of surgical procedure, not billed charge, the actual cost, patient comorbidities before surgery with metrics and claims for cost of comorbidity for 18 months prior to surgery, and then also documented at 6, 12, 18, 24, and 36 months after surgery, and claims for cost of such comorbidities at the same intervals. Absentee records for 12 months prior to, and 6, 12, 18, 24, and 36 months after the surgery. So to also see if those employees are remaining within our system as well.
Okay. Questions for Representative Dempsey? Okay, we have no questions. What would the committee like? Okay, Representative Watson.
Recommend do pass.
Okay, about a recognition for passage of Resolution LC 335140, and a second. Any further discussion? No. Okay.
It was just if you were on the chamber floor just a little while ago, you know, I stood up and I asked for immediate. That's what this is. This is the immediate resolution so that we could go ahead and hear it today and expedite it and get it, working. Mm-hmm.
Right. So we'll have a bill number, just doesn't have it. It's probably floating around in the air somewhere. Okay. Everyone in favor of the passage of this resolution say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? No. Okay, the ayes have it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Representative Houston, welcome to Health and Human Services. I don't think you've been here before.
I haven't, and this really isn't a house. I mean, human service in an indirect way. But I'm glad to be here, and I'm sorry I'm so late. This just came up in our appropriations hearing.
Right, and this is House Bill 513, LC 335138. House Bill 513, LC 335138. Well, since it's not a health bill, you're going to, but it has a health title.
It has a health title. Several years ago, the Georgia Medical Center Authority was established, and this was an incubating company over in Augusta to try to get biotech companies started, and they did a good job, and they got some started. But now they have lost all their tenants. They had some One Georgia money. They're in the process of working with One Georgia to dispose of the equipment. And they're in rentals. They don't rent any spaces now out, and they're in volunteer spaces that somebody's donating to them. They came before appropriations and asked that if they could use their excess funds to continue the process of the authority, and asked for $75,000 more money to keep the CEO. But my committee said no, that since it's just a shell of a company, we did not see any use in them continuing. And we felt like that economic development was stepping in and providing the same service. And in their comments, they asked to continue to try to find companies all over the state that they can bond. And one of their things were to work across the state to look for businesses that they could bond. And we just wanted to dispose of the revenue. Now, I think since then, somebody's called the medical school and they want their bonding authority. I don't know, but right now we just can't have $300 million of bonding authority out there. And in this bill, any expenses they have, any contracts, will have to be taken up by OPB. Now, they tell us the only expense they have left that they have to pay for is for a copy machine contract and a printing machine, that those are the only two contracts they have left. But we tried to get the amount of how much they had in reserve. We can't really get the exact amount, but we think it's going to be over $100,000, and they wanted us to go on and fund it so they could transition out, but we're not funding it.
Okay.
And this bill is to dissolve the the authority.
Well, I'm sorry there's not enough money there to fund the study for the obesity study, but sounds like they don't need to be keeping that money anyway. Or
well, the bill calls for the money to go in the state, return to the state treasurer, and you can see that online. Now, apparently, Barbara Sims is on the oversight committee, and all this has come up since I've been sitting here that somebody else wants a bonding authority, but we just right now we just got to go on the way we're going, and then I'd appreciate to pass this out, and then we can make some adjustments. I think that the Medical College of Georgia can get bonded through the Regents if they need to build anything, and that's just my opinion. Thank you.
okay, questions for Representative Houston? Pardon? Yeah, Representative Watson has a question.
Well, just for clarification, I mean, is that the way the Georgia Regents University or MCG, is that the way they were doing their bonding through the Georgia Medical Authority? Or?
Well, they've never bonded anything through
They've
the
never
Georgia
used
Medical. This
that.
was to individual companies,
Gotcha.
and they're looking
Okay.
for companies to bond throughout the state. And to my knowledge, the MCG has not bonded anything. I've got the name of the companies they've bonded, and yeah.
Okay, Representative Sims.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And Chairman Houston and I can have an ongoing conversation about this. Actually, the only reason that I would like to see the authority, not the medical center portion, not the active part, but the binding authority part, would be to allow the Medical College of Georgia the pass-through potential, if there is one, but I in no way, I understand, I want it gone because it is not performing as it should, and I believe that that maybe over the next year we could work something out, or we can chat about it. But I know Chairman Houston needs to get this out of her committee.
And one thing, too, they got $500,000 for One Georgia money, so they say, for furniture and equipment, and we need to dispose of that. I don't know how soon it takes to dispose of it, but I understand some of the lab equipment is probably old right now. You know, I don't know how quick it was 07 that they had it. And this money needs to come back to the state, I feel like.
All right. Do you want, if you have a question? Okay. I don't see any other further questions from members of the committee. Representative Fleming, do you want to speak to the bill? So, Representative Fleming.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Representative House and I have had 2 or 3 discussions about this. I actually serve on the Georgia Medical Center Authority. I'm the Speaker's appointee to the Georgia Medical Center Authority. The Governor has appointees and the Lieutenant Governor has appointees. The reason the authority began some 12-ish, 15-ish years ago was because there was not an incubator at the Medical College of Georgia. And the idea was all the taxpayer dollars we put into the Medical College of Georgia, sometimes the scientists and the doctors of there come up with something very worthwhile, but how do you transfer that great technology out into the private sector? Well, you have an incubator, somebody that grows that company, and hopefully they graduate and move on. That's what the Medical Center Authority has done for the past dozen or so years. And several things have graduated from that. This whole technology of strokes, Madam Chair, where a doctor can be in Augusta and someone can have a stroke in a rural part of Wyoming, and they can diagnose you online and tell the doctors there what kind of drugs to give you. That came from a company that was founded, technology that was founded at MCG, grown by the incubator, and then graduated out to the private market. Well, what my understanding has happened from serving on the authority is that MCG has their own incubator now that's kind of taken over, and they're actually growing themselves these ideas and transferring them to the private sector. So Representative Houston and I agree that function is no longer there, so we no longer need any state funding for that. Where we have a disagreement upon is the bonding authority. As you know, something that is very valuable quite often to universities is the ability to bond buildings. In other words, we as a state give certain authorities the ability to bond out the building of certain structures, and MCG quite often comes up with a building they need. In the last meeting of the Georgia Center Medical Authority, they voted to shut down basically their function as an incubator, but to remain and exist simply as a bonding authority. Now, if I thought bonding authority of $300 million were just laying out there, I'd be worried too. I wouldn't want that laying around. It's not really just laying around. But the way the Georgia Medical Center Authority is set up, they have to go before, and I'm going to try to get this acronym right, the GSIC. This is the thing the governor serves on, the lieutenant governor serves on. They have to go before that board to get permission to bond out any buildings. So I had a conversation with Dr. Aziz this weekend, the president of now GRU, Georgia Regents University, to ask him, look, do you want me to go to the committee when the bill comes up and present whether or not you would like this bonding authority through the Georgia Medical Center Authority to continue to exist in case the Medical College of Georgia needed to build a building, and that ability to ask the state for permission to bond a new structure would be there. And he said yes, that he thought it would be a good thing at this point. I would agree with Representative Sims over the next year. If it looks like that after further review it's not a good idea to have that bonding authority there, that it would go away. I don't have any problem with that. But I would like for us to be able to see what they think they can do with that as far as helping our only public health science university in the state. So I would ask you at this time, if you wouldn't mind, not to move ahead on the bill, to let us have some more discussions about the utility of keeping this very sometimes valuable bonding authority. And like I said, I'd had several discussions with Representative Houston before now about this, and I appreciate your consideration of that. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, Representative Fleming, I have a question. This is not an area that I'm usually involved in. Can an entity just transfer its bonding ability to another entity? It seems like this would set a bad precedent.
Well, Madam Chair, that is a good question.
Okay.
You were looking at me. I didn't know if you want me to answer.
No, I
Okay.
ask you.
The answer is they cannot. And in fact,
Okay.
I'm not proposing that they do. The Georgia Medical Center Authority would still exist as an authority. They would no longer be carrying out the incubator function that we talked about before. They no longer would be receiving any state funds. But the authority itself would exist. Much like, I'm trying to think of an analogy, I belong to the little town I have, Harlem, has a development authority. We don't get any money from the city, but we exist as almost like a voluntary board to assist the city in something they may want to do. The Georgia Medical Center Authority, if over the year that we looked at it decided that they wanted to exist, would still exist as an authority. They would just have no state funding. They would be there in case the Medical College of Georgia wanted to build something in the future and that bonding authority became available.
But if we created with a specific bill for an entity to do a specific thing and act as the incubator, can we just now say that they can use that ability to build buildings or do
Well,
something else?
that ability has always been there. That ability to bond a building already exists in the current law. What you would be doing is not be doing away with it. Now, they have chosen not to continue to be an incubator, and the reason is because they're not getting any more state funding. They've kind of fulfilled their purpose as far as that part's concerned.
Okay, Representative Houston, did you-
It's my understanding that the bonding authority hasn't always been there, that Purdue gave the bonding authority several years ago, and I think Barbara Sims carried the bill. So the bonding authority has not always been there.
okay.
And the next thing, the only thing I have to rely on are the records and the things that they tell us. And I have in writing that they want to rely on their reserves and they request the money to continue the authority.
Okay, we have a couple questions. Representative Kidd, was it for Representative Fleming?
The question that Mr. Fleming's brought to my mind, but I'll ask Ms. Houston. I know that most all other state universities. When they need to build a building, they come to the governor and they go through the process for the building to be bonded and so forth. And having been on the property committee, a lot of people think that MCG and Board of Regents can just run roughshod and do what they want to do. And that would be one of the reasons I'm very much in support of your bill.
I know. Okay. Representative Fullerton.
Representative Fleming, is he still here?
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
The group that has assumed the responsibility of incubator within an MCG.
Yes, ma'am.
That's not an authority.
No,
It's
ma'am.
just a department in the.
That's my understanding. It's kind of an economic development department within MCG to take ideas that they develop and turn them into marketable products.
Okay. Are there any other questions from the committee? Okay. No other questions from the committee. What's the committee's?
Madam Chair.
Okay, Representative Reinders.
Madam Chair, I'd like to make a motion to pass and send this to rules immediately.
Okay, we have a motion that, we have a due pass motion on House Bill 513 LC 335138. Do we have a second? Okay, we have a second. Further discussion? No further discussion? Pardon? Representative Watson?
Is this, from an authority standpoint and a budgetary standpoint, are we the right committee to be making the decision on authority? Should this not be appropriations or something? Or, I mean, is that?
That's exactly what she said.
So that was the comment, so, okay.
Representative Watson, you haven't been here long enough to see a health bill go to agriculture yet? They can sort of go wherever they want to go. It's amazing sometimes. I'm fooling with you, Representative. So anyway, and I forgot to ask, is there anybody, before we vote, I forgot to ask if there's anybody in the audience that wants to speak on this bill.
I'm not going to hold you now.
You can tell it's late. No, there's nobody who wants to speak of the bill. Okay. Everyone in the favor of the passage of House Bill 513, LC 335138, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed, no. Okay, we have one no. The bill passes. Thank you very much to the committee for coming. We will meet again on Wednesday at 11 o'clock for the other bills that we're on. So I hope we'll see everybody at 11 o'clock on Wednesday. Now everybody from the hospitals can go home. We're not going to call those bills. Have a nice day. Oh.
Again, I always say, well, take these in the equation, it probably comes to